Gilbert Talks Taxes on WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Those of you live streaming, tuning in this morning, www.wcab59.com. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning, too, out there. It's a crisp 40 degrees. It's just wonderful on this 6th day of March. It is March, and it is spring. You can feel it in the air. You know what that means? A snowstorm is right around the corner. The daffodils are up, and they're beautiful. They are yellow. They are bright, and so is the sky today. It was a good morning. I started with a sport coat on, and I shed that quickly. It got warm fast. So it's going to be an exciting day, I can tell you right now. My name is Gilbert Carmona. I'm an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is a person enrolled with the Internal Revenue Service. My authority comes from them. I represent taxpayers. I do tax returns. I solve tax problems. I do tax planning, financial planning. You know, every financial decision today, Todd, my engineer this morning, Todd, good morning. Good morning. Every financial decision now is a tax decision. It used to be you could just make financial plans and do things, but now everything. I get phone calls from people when they're going to go sell a house, when they're going to go buy a house, when they're going to buy a car. Especially, business people, I expect that, but it's like even normal people are calling me. We're thinking about doing this. We're thinking about doing that. How's it going to impact my taxes? Something about that just ain't right. But you know what, Todd? Taxation with representation hasn't been such a good idea either, and aren't we learning that? If you need to reach me, if you need to give me a call, my telephone number is 828-289-9300. Of course, this is a live program. If you have a question, you can call it here in the studio. Todd or one of my able-bodied assistants out in the lobby will be able to pick up the phone, take that question, bring it to me, and if I can answer it on the air, I will. Now, before you call about stimulus, I'm going to tell you about stimulus in a minute. I have two offices, though. One here in Rutherfordton, 113 Whitesides Road, right at the intersection where Green and Whiteside and Railroad, and they all meet there right next to Southern Baptist Church. I have another office in Tryon, 226 South Trade Street. More and more people are picking us up in Tryon with the FM 100.9. They can now get a clear signal out there. They love the show. They give me a call. I'm at 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building, right off the historic downtown Tryon. And if you need to send me an email, Gilbert@GilbertTalksTaxes.com. Okay, so there's a lot of directions I can go in this morning, and I'm just debating which direction to go in. But first, I'm going to say somebody shared an interesting scripture with me, and I'm going to start with that because I always seem to run out of time. Todd, I don't know. I thought an hour was a long time when I started this program, and it seems like I just get started, and the hour's up. We were talking about, they said, how do you understand all this? And how do you see all this and all that? And I just said, I just do. I can't explain it. It's a gift. And they gave me the scripture, Chronicles 1:12-32. And in the King James, it says, of the children of Issachar, I've heard it pronounced both ways. Issachar, of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. The heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandment. The Amplified kind of has it that same way, but I just thought it was interesting. Men that had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. And that is, and what I thought was interesting about that is really what when I'm preparing for the show, I really do pray and I really do ask, God, what do you want me to share with the people? Sometimes I just share my opinion. Sometimes I get into law. Sometimes I get really deep into law. And I can tell when I'm getting too deep into law because I get this look from Todd. Like, he lost me. I can tell. I can tell when I'm going into the deep water there, when I've left the shallows. I can tell. So sometimes I rein it back, and sometimes it's funny what's happening with these politicians. It's funny and ridiculous and sad at the same time. Other times it's very serious. But I really try to have my hand on the pulse of, my fingers on the pulse of what is going on, and really bring it to you people, what's relevant to you and what I'm seeing and the warnings that I get. Because I don't just read a news story, I read it and say, how does this impact us? And I'm very particular about what I read. I'm very particular about what I listen to. I don't want it to affect my opinion. I really want to try to hear from God and weigh it against what I'm reading in the Bible. So when they shared that with me, I just was all thrilled. Men of understanding of the times. Okay, so in that theme, that was Chronicles, by the way. That was Chronicles, First Chronicles. Did I say that? First Chronicles, 12:32. And let me just read it one more time. This is now the Amplified says, and of Issachar, men who had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. 200 chiefs and all their kinsmen were under their command. So you remember, Todd, I'm convinced somebody is listening to this program in Washington. I am convinced. Let me tell you why I'm convinced. You remember when 2 weeks ago I talked about Oregon taxing stimulus. And I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into the other story about what's happening with stimulus in a minute. But you remember Oregon, the only state that is taxing stimulus at the state level. The federal government is not taxing stimulus. When you come to do your tax return, I will ask you if you got your stimulus payment, the first one that was last year, $1,200 per adult, $500 per dependent, 16 and under. I will ask you, and I will put it into the software, not because you're being taxed. There are rumors going around, if you can believe that, Todd. People would spread rumors. There are rumors going around that this money is taxable and that's why your tax preparer is asking you and software is asking you. No, it is not taxable. The reason we're asking you is because if you did not get it for whatever reason, and we know that millions and millions of people did not get it, okay, we put it on the tax return and you will get it through your tax return as a refund. That's the good news. The bad news is that the only free cheese is in a trap. If you owe money, it will be deducted from your stimulus, which they never intended it to be that way, remember? When the first stimulus came out, if you had debt, child support, back taxes, student loans, whatever, it didn't matter. They were giving you the $1,200, they were giving you the $500. And now, if you owe money, they're taking it from the stimulus, but they're not taxing it, okay? Same thing with the second stimulus, the $600 each for each person. Husband, wife, children under 16 and under. Okay. But Oregon, the state of Oregon, is taxing that stimulus at, are you ready for this, Todd? 8.75%. So people that were going there and doing their tax returns that almost every year get back $400 or $500 from the state, and they may owe a couple of hundred, whatever. Now, the ones that were getting $400, $500, $600 back, we're now owing $400, $500, $600. And those that normally would owe a couple of $100, we're now owing like $600, $800, $1,000. And this caused no small stir. And I talked about it in the program. The story broke on a Friday night, and I broke it right here Saturday morning on Gilbert Talks Taxes. Okay, so last week, Oregon U.S. House Representative Peter DeFazio. That makes my Chicago accent just come out when I say that. Peter DeFazio, a Democrat, by the way. Let's all note that. He is a Democrat. Blasted the governor, Kate Brown of Oregon. He wrote a letter to her urging her to ensure the stimulus payments remain tax-free as Congress intended. You know how much revenue Oregon generated by taxing the stimulus payments of 870,000 residents, Todd? Do you have any idea? $100 million. And that's just, they taxed them for only the money they got in 2020. So they didn't tax them for round two. Round two is going to get taxed in 2021 because that's when you got it. Technically, you got it in January, February. So it's a 2021 tax. So they're gonna get this 2 years, and then now the new crumbs that they're gonna give us. How much are those crumbs gonna be, Todd? Okay, that's $1,400 per husband, per wife, and per dependent? Yeah, $1,400. So it's more money than the first go around. Throw the $600 on top of that, that's $2,000 per dependent. They're probably going to get another, and I'm just doing some quick math in my head, they're going to get another $150 million in revenue. That's just off the top of my head. But plus or minus a couple of million, right, from taxing this. And it's really good for him to do this, but he's taking a strong stand against this, and I'm so glad to see that somebody is, because this is just wrong. I mean, the money was intended to help people that were out of work. Remember, you know the drill. They were out of work. They needed the money. They were dying in the streets. Coronavirus was killing everybody, and they had to have this money because somehow this money was going to save them from the coronavirus, whatever the thing was. But they're taxing it. They're the only state doing it, by the way. Okay, now, talking about states that are taxing, I got a few questions about. It was at the end of the program, and I kind of moved through it really fast. I wasn't going to talk about it last week, but at Todd's urging, see, I'm blaming you, Todd. At Todd's urging, I brought it up. Well, Todd said people need to know. North Carolina. You don't catch them. Well, and it is catching people as a surprise. That people are being shocked about this. Okay. PPP, Payroll Protection Program money. Free money that the federal government is giving to businesses so they can keep employees on payroll instead of just laying them off last year when they couldn't keep them on payroll for whatever reason. It's supposed to be coronavirus. Originally, it was supposed to be coronavirus related. Then it was business continuation related. Then pretty much if you just had employees, you could get it. Then if you didn't have employees, but you were a sole proprietor, you could get it. And pretty much if you were a hairdresser that made a couple of $1,000s, you could get it. They were pretty much just giving it to everybody who qualified for it. But technically it was set up as a loan because they were trying to work with an existing infrastructure they had through Small Business Administration. So it came out as a loan. That scared a lot of people. I know initially it scared me. And we were telling people, if you're not impacted by the China virus, it's supposed to be for people that are impacted by the China virus. But then everybody was getting the loan, like everybody, whether they were impacted or not. I mean, sports teams that it wasn't even their regular season were getting the money. So then we said, okay, well, let's go ahead and apply for it. Go ahead and get it. And originally, that was supposed to be free money. It was a loan, and then if it was forgiven, it was free money. But there's a law. It's actually generally accepted accounting principles, and it's a law with the IRS. It's a law in most states that if you have a loan and it's forgiven for whatever reason, that loan is now taxable because it's free money. It's taxable as income. Or whatever you were going to expense against that loan, you can't expense. So an example, Todd really thinks the 70s are coming back. He wants to open up a leisure suit factory. I think it's a great idea. I loan Todd. What do you think you need to start a leisure suit factory, Todd? That leisure suit factory, what do you need? $200,000. Todd needs $200,000. Does that include the platform shoes? You can. Okay, we'll talk about that later. $200,000. So I give Todd $200,000. Realize the 70s are never coming back, and say, you know what, Todd? You can just go ahead. I'm forgiving that loan. You don't have to pay me back. I don't think people are going to start buying Nehru jackets. I'm sorry. I forgive the loan. That $200,000 is now taxable income to you. It's just on GAAP, and you would actually pay tax on it. Congress intended for that money to be free. So they were originally, the IRS went back to and I'm nutshelling a whole thing that took about 6 months. The IRS went to Congress and said, we're going to have to tax this PPP money unless you guys change the law. So North Carolina and a bunch of states, when it was taxable, they said, oh, we're going to do whatever the IRS does. They said this in October, actually. It was on their website, NCDOR, or DOR.NC. Whatever, GOV, whatever their website is. It was on their website. We're going to do whatever the IRS does, because at that time, the IRS was taxing it. So North Carolina was going to tax it, and so were a lot of other states. Well, then Congress rewrote the law. Congress said, IRS, just sit tight a minute. Let's do this. They went ahead and rewrote the law, gave it to the IRS. And the IRS said, okay, good, we're good with this. We're not going to tax PPP. But North Carolina changed. And February 22nd, North Carolina issued a notice saying they are going to tax PPP at the state level. And this totally sandbagged many of us. We were very surprised to see this and we had already filed a lot of tax returns. So what we're doing going forward, we're either going to extend, because in June, when the assembly meets again, they're going to discuss this, and there's a bill to follow the IRS, to follow the federal government, and to not tax this PPP. But you never know. I mean, any way that could go. If Oregon made $100 million taxing stimulus, how much can these states make taxing PPP? I don't know. So we are keeping our eyes open about that. So if you're a business that borrowed PPP and you've already been forgiven, and you're here in North Carolina, and actually there are about 20 states. I have a list at the office. There are about 20 states that are taxing it right now, but many of them are having laws to change it. So be aware of this going forward. I just don't want anybody to get surprised. Our people I'm already in conversations with and have communicated with them. For most of them, it's not that big a deal, because the PPP loans for small businesses just weren't that big. It's the bigger businesses that are going to get hit with this. So our advice right now is we're either filing an extension, and we're going to go ahead and make an estimated tax payment as if it was being taxed, or if we've already filed a tax return, we're going to have to amend this. If they don't tax it, it's not a problem. If they do tax it, we're probably going to have to amend and get it in there. But it's just sad that went that way, because this money was clearly intended to be, because of the pandemic, free money. It was never intended to be taxed, and everybody kind of knew that, and that's the way they were moving forward. Okay, so enough about that. Let me go ahead and take a break. We're going to come back. I'm going to talk about ghost preparers, Todd. IRS issues a strong warning against ghost preparers. And then I'm going to talk about, get a little bit into their mail backlog. Believe it or not, they're backlogged. Some experts are saying it could be years till they get. But boy, if you write them a check, it clears in a week. No mail backlog there. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite.
Put Jesse James Railroad Express on your daily lunch list. He now has daily specials. Monday, get a hot dog with mustard, chili, and onions for 99 cents. Add slaw for 45 cents. Tuesday, the Carolina Express on a regular bun, any side, 16-ounce drink, $6.99 plus tax. Thursday, chicken salad croissant, any side with regular drink, $6.99 plus tax. Friday, 2 hot dogs, any way, bag of chips, 16-ounce drinks, $4.99 plus tax. A delicious lunch every day of the week. Only at Jesse James Railroad Express, open every day 11 a.m. until 4, closed Wednesday and Sunday. Call 828-447-4644 for takeout orders. Jesse James is located 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherford. All aboard.
All aboard. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9. I got to go get some coffee and a donut afterwards. Got to go over to Jesse's. Get a coffee. Okay, so ghost tax preparers. The IRS issued a whole thing about it. They're very concerned. With everything else going on, it's, tax fraud's kind of fallen off to the wayside. Tax scams, tax fraud, but it's still happening. It is still a major issue. Tax refunds are coming back at a brisk pace, a lot faster than they said was going to happen. They got up and running, and they got a full head of steam, and a lot of refunds went out Tuesday, this last Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're going to have another big batch coming out next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if you haven't gotten your refund, be looking for it next week. Of course, you can always go to irs.gov, G-O-V, irs.gov. Go to the Where's My Refund tool, and it will give you wrong information about 50% of the time, but you may be on the 50% of the time that's right. People are calling me telling me the tool says that my tax return is still in process, but I already got my refund. Is that okay? Can I spend it? Yes, spend it. The tool's wrong, but sometimes it's right. You can go there and you can follow your refund, kind of, sort of, sometimes, and it will help you. But there should be a big wave coming this week, or you're going to get a letter telling you whatever the letter's telling you. People that have tried, so there's so many scenarios. Getting back on the stimulus subject for a minute, there are people that are divorced, and the spouse got the stimulus, and they're not cutting loose with it. They're keeping it. One of the spouses got it, but the other spouse wants their half, so they put on the tax return, I didn't get it. The IRS is sending them a letter saying, well, yes, you did, and we're not going to give it to you. So you're going to see a lot of issues like this. That's the big one I'm seeing. Spouses because especially where one spouse claims a child 1 year and another one claims a child another year, you're supposed to be the spouse where the child lives for more than 6 months is the one that's supposed to be claiming the child. But people make these arrangements amongst themselves, so now there's all kinds of things about, well, you got the money because you did the tax return with the child on it, and they're not sharing it. So there's all kinds of issues going on with all that. So tax fraud, tax scams, and ghost tax return preparers has not been in the news, but it's a big deal. What is a ghost tax preparer? A ghost tax preparer is a person that does your tax return for you, but does not sign your tax return. Okay? Those of you that are listening that are my clients, you know that at the bottom of your tax return, all of my information is there. My name, my address, my PTIN number, which is my practitioner ID number. Okay? So my PTIN number is on there. My EIN number is on there. I have my 4-digit PIN is on. Everything's on there. So that there's no question that this was prepared by Gilbert Carmona. Okay? No question at all. Now, because everything's electronically filed now, unless we have to paper file your tax return for whatever reason, which we try to avoid that whenever possible because it takes twice as long. But and it does happen. It does happen. Certain forms and things cannot be e-filed, but I would say over 99% of them are electronically filed. And you have to have a valid preparer tax ID number to do that. So you don't actually see me physically sign a piece of paper for you, but when I give you all your documents, in that nice little book I give you, that everything's in there. You see the bottom of the 1040 has everything. Again, my name, my address, my PTIN number, my EIN number, the code. I am third-party designee for every tax return I prepare. That means if I need to talk to the IRS about a problem with your tax return, I have the authority to do that. So I do that. I'm totally transparent. Well, ghost preparers don't fill any of that out. As a matter of fact, when you look at your tax return, you may even see self-prepared on there and with no other information. That means you're dealing with somebody that's not reputable and somebody that has no business to be preparing your tax return. Okay, I asked the lady that came into I wasn't going to bring the subject up, but I actually had one this week where the lady brought me last year's tax return and it said on the bottom, self-prepared. And I said, oh, you did your own taxes last year? Because that's what that's saying. You did your own tax return. The person is taking zero responsibility for that tax return. And she goes, oh, no, I went to such and such place. I said, well, that's not what this says. She says, oh, no, I even paid them whatever she paid them. I don't remember. She said, I paid them to do it. They were a paid preparer. I said, where was their office? And she goes, well, they were just there during tax season. It's an empty space there now. I said, are they there this year? She said, no, that's why I'm here to see you. I said, oh, they're not. They're not there. I said, and did they happen to fill your tax return out on a laptop? She said, no, they used an iPad. I said, oh, okay. Those are all the tall tale signs of a ghost preparer, a person who shouldn't be filing your tax return, and the kind of person that you do not want to use, because that person now has all your information. They have your bank account, your date of birth, your social security number. They have everything. And that tablet, wherever that tablet is right now, has that information on it, or can access if they use some kind of offsite storage. So the IRS is saying, don't do that. Don't use people like this, because they circumvent the system, because the law says if you file more than one tax return, you're supposed to have a PTIN number, and you're supposed to declare that on there. Plus, that person's not taking any responsibility. And there were some issues with her last year's tax return, some basic issues that are, that's not this. In this case, it wasn't a big deal, but potentially it could be a big deal. So that's why she came to me, because she said, I really need to see a professional, and because of those issues. But so be aware of people like that. If it says self-prepared on it, that should be your first warning. Really, if they're a laptop working in like a kiosk in the middle of, at the malls, you see those kiosks where they set up a table and they're just sitting at a table with like a little, $90 laser printer and a laptop. I mean, unless you're really desperate to get your tax return done right then and there, go see somebody a little bit more established. I mean, you can always see me. Please give me a call, 828-289-9300. There is no such thing as a basic tax return. We do them all. But see somebody that's reputable, somebody that at least is going to safeguard your information and protect your data from being stolen, because that's the issue with these ghost preparers. So again, the IRS is warning people. They will not sign your returns. They don't have valid numbers. They some of the more other warning signs, they want cash. They won't give you a receipt. If they accept a credit card, it'll be rung up under some name that has nothing to do with their business. They'll invent, and a lot of these people, what they'll do is they'll tell you, hey, I can get you a bigger refund. I can get you more money. I know what to do to get you more money. And they'll prepare a fraudulent return and don't sign it. So they literally, everything falls back on you. They'll claim fake deductions to boost the income. Another big problem is they'll direct the deposit, and they can do this. They can direct your deposit to their bank account. You won't even get the money. And by the time you realize this has happened, 3-4 weeks has gone. You go back to the little kiosk or wherever, and they're gone. They are gone. There was one place where the guy said the man was sitting in a car and the car was running, doing the tax return. He had a laptop. Now I use in the office. It's not an iPad. It's a Lenovo, but that's to manage workflow. I'm not doing tax returns on them. I only do tax returns on our network computers. So there is a difference, and we're in our office, and we have a lot of, we protect your ID. I go overboard. My IT man assures me, he says, you're way beyond what the IRS is requiring. But they'll direct your refunds to go into other bank accounts, and you don't know it. Because once you leave, you have no control over your data or anything that's happening. And the IRS said you can always go to their website. You can go to irs.gov, and they actually have a PTIN directory, the IRS directory, and I checked it, and yes, my name is on there. And you go to the PTIN directory at irs.gov, and you can go there and put in the person's information. You can actually even look for tax preparers in your area using that PTIN directory, and you'll know that you're getting a tax preparer that's at least registered with the IRS. It's not a credential, just at least you'll know you're dealing with a person that's got enough, they're legitimate enough to register with the IRS, right? Crooks usually don't want to register themselves with anybody, but at least you'll do that. So that's irs.gov, the PTIN, Practitioner Tax ID Number Directory, and check it, and it'll tell you what qualifications they have. Mine identifies me as an enrolled agent, and which is the highest I can have with the IRS. Okay, let's go ahead and take another break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590. Where, Todd? FM 100.9.
As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous. People come up to me and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return, and thank you for getting me that big refund. Do you have any ideas what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I do. Take that refund right over to NC Tractor and Farm Supply, talk to Phil, get you a brand new shiny red Massey Ferguson. That's NC Tractor and Farm Supply, Railroad Avenue. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. By the way, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. I'm hoping he'll give me a discount when I go buy my brand new shiny Massey Ferguson tractor.
Yeah. We are back. WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Those of you live streaming me, it looks great. I've got my vintage. It's vintage, Todd. It's not old clothes. It's vintage clothes. Have my vintage tie on.
I'm going to help you with my 70s company.
Your 70s? I'm going to help you with your 70s company. Yes, Nehru by Todd. I think that's great. That's great. Leisure suits are coming back someday. Everything goes, all fashion goes full cycle, Todd. So I hope the 70s never come back. I look at those pictures of me in high school, and what were we even thinking? What were we even thinking? You roll the sleeve back, and you have the collar on the outside. But this morning started out as a beautiful morning. It is now 41 degrees right here at the studio, the official weather station at WCAB. It's going to be a beautiful day today. I start out with a sport coat, but now I'm down to my sweater. Those of you live streaming, thank you so much. WCAB AM. I'm sorry. WCAB dot. I've lost it all, Todd. www.wcab59.com. The station is WCAB AM 590, 100.9 FM. You can send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com if you have any questions, or give me a call, 828-289-9300. We are still accepting appointments for tax returns. We are doing simple tax returns, complicated tax returns. Now, the filing deadline for partnerships. A partnership files a 1065 tax return. That is what that is called, a 1065. Partnership tax returns are due the 15th of March. That is a week from Monday. They are due. S corporations, S corp elections, if you are an LLC or an Inc. That is filing as an S corp, your tax return is also due March 15th, a week from Monday. Now, that gives you not too much time if you haven't started yet. If you think you're not going to be ready, go ahead and file for an extension now. Just get it over with. This is usually the week where I start getting the phone call of, well, I've got everything almost put together. No, just file an extension. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, and with a partnership, if you are late, the fine is per partner. Okay, it is not the entity. It's not just one late fee for the penalty and interest and all that on the entity. It is per partner for failure to file. So just file an extension. Just give me that call and say, actually, I'm already reaching out to you, and today is Killer Phil Day. We are going to go through the list, and the ones that they just don't have enough information, we're going to file an extension. Just go ahead and do it. If you're worried about PPP being taxable and you're a partnership or an S Corp election, go ahead and file for an extension. You're better safe than sorry. Will the IRS be extending filing season? Okay, I read it last week. The commissioner doesn't want to because, as I said, it really didn't help anybody, and it just caused a lot of confusion. If they want to file extension, if they want to extend tax season, just go ahead and extend it till October. That's the normal deadline. They should just do it for everybody, and not have this whole thing. But right now they are not extending anything. The deadline date for individuals to file their tax returns, April 15th. Okay, so these dates have not changed as of today, or at least I haven't been told. If anything happens, I will get an email, but I just don't think they're going to. There's no reason to. There really is no reason to. So March 15th is a Monday. April 15th is a Thursday. So they're not on the weekends. It is going to be that date, because normally if it's on a weekend or a holiday, it pushes back to the next day. So we're going to have those normal dates this year. Now, if you file an extension, it is a 6-month extension. Okay? Some states, you don't have to file an extension. They follow your federal. If you file a federal extension, you're good to go for the state. South Carolina is that way. A few other states are that way. Some other states have you file an extra form. Some don't. It just depends what states you're filing taxes in. But go ahead and do that if you're in doubt. And if you're in doubt, you're going to hit the April 15th deadline. Go ahead and file an extension. You can always file an extension and go back and do your tax return on time. There's no problem. There's no problem at all. So I recommend you do that. The now S Corp election, if you started your company last year, typically S Corps are LLCs, but there is no such thing as an LLC tax return. People will call me and say, I'd like to file an LLC tax return. No, that is, LLC is an entity type. When you created your LLC, when you created your entity in the state of North Carolina or whatever state you created it in, you can create it in other states. The reason people create entities in other states is because certain states have advantages, not always tax advantages. There are other advantages to forming your corporation. Delaware, for example, was a favorite for many years. Todd, when you start that leisure suit factory, you may want to incorporate in Delaware. The reason you incorporate in Delaware is because, or one of the reasons that was very popular, is if there is a business litigation, a lawsuit, okay, but if there's a litigation in Delaware, it actually goes to a special court where the judge is a business expert. The judge, that's all he does is hear business cases. He's not hearing divorce cases in the morning and business cases in the afternoon. This guy that's all he does. And you don't go before a jury in business cases, you go before a judge, which is huge. I don't know that, in a complicated business lawsuit, I don't know that I would want non-business people involved who don't understand why, whatever happened. So a lot of people opted to incorporate in Delaware. It's very popular. Now there's some other states now that, for the same reasons, are very popular. But that's a conversation you have with your attorney and your tax specialist, whoever that is. We have lots of those meetings to discuss what's the best thing to do. But typically, you'll choose to be taxed as a limited liability corporation. You'll to create your entity as an LLC, and then you'll choose to be taxed as either an S corp, or you can be taxed as a C corp. You can be taxed. Thank you. Be taxed as a C corp. Okay, and then that just depends what tax return you're going to file. You're going to file an 1120 if you're a C corp. You're going to file an 1120S if you're an S corp. You're going to file a 1065 if you're a partnership. And you can be an LLC and be a partnership, and be taxed as a partnership. And it just means you've employed a partnership structure within your company, and you're going to abide by the rules of a partnership. Whereas in an S corp, you're not really partners, you're shareholders. And the difference can be subtle or it can be vast. It just depends on how you're operating your entity. Okay? And these are conversations you need to have. Again, I love having these conversations, as you can tell. Todd, I'm starting to get that look from you that, am I going out to deep water here? Am I in deep water?
You need to roll your pants up.
Have I? Todd said he's rolling his pants up. Okay, yeah, I'm getting to the deep water. Yeah, let me reel it back in then. Let me reel it back in. Okay, so those tax returns are due Monday, the 15th. So I would tell you to extend today. Call me, please, and tell me to extend. I just got a call, and I got a question about 1095Bs, healthcare coverage. What a coinky-dink you would call me and ask me about this, because this morning I was actually thinking about talking about this, because there are changes to the law, but it is still a thing. We still do have Obamacare, and it still has to go on your tax return. And that is, you know what? We're about ready. Are we close to taking a break here, Todd? I could if I wanted to. I'm going to get into this. That is really something that this person would ask about this. When we get back, I'm gonna talk about it. 1095. The question is, 1095 is health coverage. Is it? Yes, it is a thing, and it goes on your tax return. Let me go ahead. So did I talk about did I beat the extensions into the ground? Did everybody get the point? Yes, Todd. What I was saying is you should file an extension if you're not going to be ready. Yes. Okay. So everybody got the point. Let's go ahead and take a break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889.
This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300.
We are back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, among other things. Gilbert talks about a lot of things. Right here on WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Those of you live streaming, good morning. A lot of people are live streaming, and I want to thank all of you. I want to thank all of you for live streaming us. I just got a text from somebody that says, we're live streaming you. It sounds great. People pick this up, and I'll get phone calls from all over. It's picked up later on YouTube. And what's the count there?
2.
So people will pick it up, and give me the 1 minute count, okay?
Oh, yeah, you got
Okay.
15 minutes.
I'll fill that up quickly. I will fill that up quickly. Last week, I hit it right on time. I was so proud of myself. I was so proud of myself. My timing is getting so much better. So those of you live streaming, thank you. But this gets picked up later on YouTube, and I'll get phone calls from people. Do you know anything about Missouri taxes? I've got a question. I'm like, Missouri? How did you hear about me? On the internet? It's like, I listen to you every week. It's like, really? Anyway, thank you so much, because I know there are a million other people you could be listening to. Thank you. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to me. Okay. So 1095B. So you're going to get these forms from your employers because the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as we call it, is still a thing. Employers are still have to do 1095 reporting. People still do have insurance through the marketplace, although we are seeing the number of 1095Bs and Cs and As that we're getting go way down, way down. It's been like noticeable how far down it is. And the thing that I was going to talk about this morning that I was weighing about getting into or not is the Obamacare Cliff is still a thing. And if you have a subsidized policy, you still have to report that on your tax return. That information needs to go on there. So you're going to get that 1095 in the mail, and all that information is on there, how much you got, who was insured, and that goes on the tax return. If you were under subsidized, that means if you didn't get enough money, you paid too much premium according to your income, you actually get money back on your tax return, whatever the difference is. I've seen as little as $300, $400 to as much as $1,500, $1,600, okay, of a refund, a rebate really is what you get for your subsidy. But the bad one is if you were over subsidized, that means your premiums were too small. And I will ask people, did you have affordable health care, Obamacare? Did you have a Affordable Health Care Act? They'll go, yes. How much did you pay every month? And I can tell if they tell me, oh, I paid $89 a month, and I know what I'm looking at their income on the tax return, I'm like, ooh, because that means you're going to have to pay back money. Now, there is a cap. There is a limit. Okay, $1,600, whatever the limit is, until you hit what we call in the industry, the Obamacare Cliff. What happens is you can make up to 400% of poverty line. So, and that poverty line depends married, single, head of household, and how many children. So, and I'm just going to make a number up. So you have a head of household with 2 children. Poverty line is $16,700. You can make up to 400% of that, and you'll pay back a capped amount, $1,600. Okay, is the most you can have to pay back. But as soon as you hit, this is why we call it a cliff, as soon as you hit 401%, so up to 400, you're good to go. You're only going to pay back the max, $1,600. But as soon as you go 401% and more, you have to pay it all back. Okay. The worst case I saw was married couple had to pay back $25,500. I've had people that have had to pay back $17,000, $16,000, $12,000, $7,000. I told the story of the person that inherited, and this is the problem I had with the whole Obamacare Ponzi scheme. This was the problem I had with the whole thing, and I called it a Ponzi scheme, and several people said, well, it's really not that, and I'm like, well, what else do you call it? It's a pyramid scheme. You know, I don't know what else you call it. What happened is a person inherited money, and there's no way you know this. You just somebody, an uncle died and left them. Uncle Marvin died and left them money. Well, it's taxable income. The money they left, the type of money, because not all inheritance is tax-free. Some inheritance you pay tax on. So they left them a beneficiary, like it was a beneficiary annuity plan, something like that. Anyway, it was taxable. It was not inherited, non-tax money. That the estate didn't pay tax on it, but the individual that got it had to pay tax on it. So it was taxable income, an extra $30,000 or whatever of the $100-something thousand was taxable, and it bumped it up, and they had to pretty much give their entire Obamacare subsidy back, $25,500. There was just nothing we could do to defer it or change it or anything, because it had already been done. By the time they came to me, money had been issued, money had been dispersed, because people didn't understand how this worked. So what they got rid of is they got rid of the mandate. You don't have to have insurance anymore. We're not even asking you if you have insurance anymore. We're asking you if you have Obamacare, because we need to get that 1095, okay, from you, and get that 1095 on your tax return. So if you had a subsidized health care plan, and the insurance agent is supposed to tell you, this is through the marketplace, this is subsidized, normally your insurance would be $1,000 a month, but you're only going to pay $100 a month. You're being subsidized $900 a month. Okay, you're being subsidized $9,600 a year for insurance. That means the federal government is paying it because of your income level, or you told them what your income level was. Okay, and it's based on last year's information. Well, things change year to year, so be aware of this. This is still a thing, and it's a big thing. We've had 2 or 3 of them this year that potentially were issues, and fortunately they came to me with enough time. We were able to do what we needed to do, make them aware of it, that they're going to have to pay back a certain amount of money, whatever that money is. For the one person it was $1,600, but you just know now you don't have to have the mandate. You're not being penalized for not having insurance anymore. They got rid of that. That's gone. And I know they say Trump got rid of it, but really the Democrats didn't want it either. They were trying to get rid of that the second year. You remember, Todd, I did whole shows on it. They were trying to get rid of it the second year when they realized what this thing did and what it created and the problems they were having with it. They were trying to get rid of it while Obama was still president. And that was the Democrats were trying to do that, and the Republicans. Everybody's been trying to get rid of it. I don't know why why don't they just expand Medicare? Just expand Medicare. We already have free health care. It's not like we don't have it. We have it. Medicare, and it's good insurance. Why don't they just go ahead and expand it? Why did they create this? I don't know. It appears to be for money. Okay, so I assume that's the question. It just says, is health coverage with a question mark? Yes, it still is a thing. If you didn't get that form, you need to call healthcare.gov. Go to healthcare.gov. Get on the website there, and they have a telephone number, a customer service. I've had people call from my office. I give them a blank 1095, and the agent there will give you the information right over the phone. Okay? It's 3 columns of numbers. Takes them about 5 minutes to go through it. Once she verifies your identity, she or he verifies your identity, they go through it, and they give you all the information that I need to put on the tax return. Okay? The problem is a lot of people are getting it in the mail, and they just throw it out. They don't know what it is, even though the envelope says important tax information. They look at it, and I guess because it doesn't involve them getting a stimulus check, they just throw it out. Todd said that's what he would do. It doesn't involve a stimulus check, just throw it out. How important could it be, right? It doesn't involve me getting money. But in fact, it does involve you getting money because I need those numbers. But other than that, that's all we need to know about healthcare coverage. There is no penalty for not having it. There is no anything. And I don't know what's going to happen going forward. I'm not foreseeing good things with it, though. I'm just not. They're going to do something, and I'm concerned about it. Okay, so enough about that. Let me just finish. Breaking news, Todd, right here. This just broke yesterday. Breaking news. I want to end the show on this. This is for you business people out there, self-employed and small business. Okay, there is a new PPP program, and the window closes on Tuesday. Okay, so to reserve payroll protection program money for you, the SBA has established a 14-day exclusive application period for small business. That is any business that has less than 20 employees. Okay? So the window for this closes, though, on Tuesday. And I just got this yesterday. So I'm getting it to you as fast as I can, folks. Okay? I actually got this yesterday, March 4th. So I am bringing it before you today. The window closes on March 9th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you are an S Corp, and I just explained S Corps, or a C Corp, and I just explained C Corps, and you have fewer than 20 employees, you can apply for your first, second, or upgraded PPP, Payroll Protection Plan, Payroll Protection Program, money now. Also, don't apply just to your bank. A lot of people are going to their bank. Now, Home Trust Bank, by the way, people have told me, well, I bank at Home Trust, I can apply to them. No, they're using a third party. As a matter of fact, their website directs you to a third party, and you have to pick one of those three. So a lot of banks are not doing this. But don't apply with your bank. You may find your bank's useless. You can start there anyway, was what I was trying to say. You start there, but they're just going to refer you to a third party. Typically NAV, that's N-A-V, or Lendio are the two that have really stepped up to the plate. Cabbage is doing it also. And if you are using Square to process your credit cards, Square, so you already have a Square account, Square is doing it. Square is doing a great job, by the way. At least the clients I've been working with Square, they're doing a fabulous job. Okay, so we've had, and I've used these. I've used Nav, Lendio, Square, used them. It's been great. Cabbage. Okay, so take the money from the first lender willing to give it to you. Okay, if they're not moving quick, just go on to the next one, because this needs to be fast, and you really need to work on it today, because they're going to close this window Tuesday. Okay, so the SBA has created a new method and a new application for Schedule C business owners. That is, you self-employed people that file a Schedule C. So they've created a new method and a new application for Schedule C businesses that uses your gross income rather than the net profit to determine the money amount of PPP, because that was the problem we were having last year, and a lot of you small businesses couldn't apply. You small businesses that did Schedule C couldn't apply because at the end of the year you had a negative. Well, that's what most small businesses that are self-employed want. They want a negative number, or as close to it as possible. Why? Because they don't pay taxes. Okay, or at least they're going to pay reduced taxes. They try to get that down. And some of the expenses that you use, like depreciation, when you're self-employed, Schedule C like that, is really not an indicator of the health of your business. Because let's say you bought a piece of equipment, but you're making payments on it, but because of the depreciation laws, you can expense that whole piece of equipment in the year you bought it. So you bought a vehicle, or you bought an expensive piece of equipment, you can depreciate it that year, even though you bought a $50,000 whatever. You bought a $50,000 leisure suit maker, Todd, and you can expense that thing right in that year, take the $50,000 off the top, and get your taxes down to zero or negative, even though you're going to be making payments on that piece of equipment for the next however many years. You're going to be making payments on it. And then now you cannot deduct the payments you're making. You've already taken it now in this year. You made that election. You made that decision. So what happens? I got 1 minute left. So this happens every time I just get into a topic. That is a whole topic I can do an hour program on. You're going to take that election, but now the interest on the loan you can deduct, but you can't deduct the principal because you've already taken it. So it brings it down to zero. So PPP establishes this new reserve program, but it closes on Tuesday. So please get on it, you small business people. Okay, you can give me a call, 828-289-9300. Send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. I will be back next Saturday at 8 a.m. Thank you so much for listening. Todd's telling me I got a few seconds more? 30 seconds? Well, I want to thank everybody at www.WCAB59.com. And you can get me at Gilbert@GilbertTalksTaxes, or you can call me at 828-289-9300. And if there's a topic you want to hear, please go ahead and shoot me an email,